Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Right, listen, we are in dark times indeed. We are. We are in an absolute dark crisis here in the United Kingdom. And I'm going to say we're in a dark crisis across the West in general. We are heading like this. These are the things, the real things that are really happening in the world right now. Excuse me. So we are unmistakably heading towards a showdown with the Russians, right? That seems right now, as I don't see the runoff, guys. I really don't see the runoff. Yesterday we had the Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom threatening Russia, with the talking about the poisoning of Navalny. And the use of Ecuadorian dart frog, of all things, guys, of all things to use, they used the good old Ecuadorian dart frog. The day before that, we had more rhetoric build-up where it's just this constant drive towards acceptance of the public that a war with Russia is a good thing. And look, this is the direction of travel. I really don't see any way out of this now. And it comes out today from the BBC. I will share this with you guys in a second. So it comes out today from the BBC that the United Kingdom are considering, in fact, I'll share it with you. How do I share things? So it comes out from the BBC that the United Kingdom are considering significant increase to defense spending. Now, this is the problem, guys. This is the huge problem. It's not the spending that's the problem. It's what you get for that money. That's the huge problem. And we are heading, and look, guys, I've been to many war zones. I went to the Iraq war when the first boots on the ground went into Iraq. They were vastly unequipped to fight that war. Embarrassingly unequipped to fight that war. We didn't have the right body armor. We just didn't have the right equipment. Did not have the right equipment to fight that war. I don't mean rifle. You know what? The rifles didn't work actually. The rifles didn't really work in the sand, but in fairness, no rifle really works in the sand. I'm talking about the life support. I'm talking about the logistics. I'm talking about boots. I'm talking about footwear. I'm talking about warm weather kit. We just didn't have it. And this is what I think the British military are going into right now. I don't think they know what they're going to come up against. I don't think they really understand what it's going to be like living in that climate, living in that temperature flux where in the winter you've got minus 20 plus Celsius. And in the summer, you've got 35, 40 degrees. Like, I don't think people are ready for this, guys, honestly. But from the mainstream media today, the United Kingdom are considering spending, increasing their defense budget considerably. I am going to talk about that today, guys. Also, I've got a video to share with you guys from Andrew Bridgens just posted it. Now, I'm going to share with you guys this for 1 second. I'm not going to share the whole video because it will just get blocked. I'm not going to share the whole video, but that's the video there, warning graphic content. So I'm going to share like the first 10 seconds of that. And what I suggest everybody do is go and watch that video, right? Literally go and watch that video, guys, because it's dark, it's disturbing, and it's regards to the Epstein files. I'll tell you now, the guy, is this guy, he's walking down the street and he says... Basically, he says he opened the Epstein files. It was surfing the internet last night, and he opened the Epstein files and he looked at them and he wished he hadn't because of some of the stuff he saw. Now, I keep going down this rabbit hole. Right? And look, guys, I want to keep this live stream grounded in things we can all tangibly grasp. But I do keep going down this rabbit hole. And it keeps leading you back to the same thing. It does. Each and every time you go down this rabbit hole, it keeps leading you back to the same thing. And I'm just... it's very difficult for me to digest this stuff. Right, hang on. There was a question on here that I wanted to get. Right, Danny Walker is saying, no, hang on. Sean, last night you said Russia wasn't provoked. No, they weren't. In a way, there was not by Ukraine, but by NATO. As they said, they wouldn't move an inch closer to Russia, and then they did. And the cherry on top, Russia had stopped NATO from signing Ukraine, and the only way was to be in a war, as a country can't join an alliance while in a war. Okay, right, let's address this then. Okay, so let's okay. First of all, can you imagine, right, if you live in a terraced house, right, if you live in a row of terraced houses, right, imagine if you live in a row of terraced houses and the house on your left is really pissing you off, right? So you go and knock on the door, and you go and knock on the neighbor's door on the right, and you start shouting at them and getting to melee with him. That doesn't really work, right? Now, NATO's expanding, so I'm going to invade a non-NATO country. I'll tell you what NATO expansion is. And look, I totally understand that. I'll tell you what NATO expansion is. It's money. It's money making. So this comes down to money, basically. So Poland, for example, before Poland joined NATO in, what was it, like 2001 or something? Was it 2000? I don't know. But guys, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I never know what the questions are going to get. I never know what questions I'm going to get right. And I try to answer as many questions, and Danny's wrote quite a lot, so I will, and it's in capital letters, so I will address it. So I never know what questions I'm going to get. So when I give these answers, the dates might be wrong slightly. I'm not meaning to mislead. If I'm wrong on something, somebody please correct me. So Poland joined NATO in, I think it was 2001. Now, Poland's kit and equipment was Soviet kit and equipment. So AK-47s, AK-74s, Russian Soviet bloc equipment, right? When they joined NATO, they had to change all their kit and equipment to be interoperable with other NATO countries. So that meant 5.56 rifles. It meant Western helicopters, Western aircraft, and it's a huge expansion of financial. When NATO get another country, it's huge defense contracts for the big prime contractors. Now, when a country becomes part of NATO, they will do that because they will get lobbied by those defense companies. So those defense companies will go in there and they will say, hey, listen, guys, if you become part of NATO, for example, they might go to a politician, right? They might go to a politician and say, hello, mate, if your country became part of NATO, when you finish your political career, I mean, there would be a definite job for you in Boeing or Raytheon. You wouldn't really have to do anything. You just sit there. So, there's incentives for these politicians to vote to become part of NATO. So in response to the question here, what Danny Walker's saying, Sean, last night you said Russia wasn't provoked. So Russia was not right. Sean, last night you said Russia wasn't provoked. Okay, well, provoking someone's a subjective metric, right? Provoking someone's a subjective metric. The Ukrainians did nothing, absolutely nothing. The Ukrainians did nothing to warrant getting invaded. The invasion started in the invasion started in, and it had nothing to do with NATO. It had to do with the European Union. So in 2013, wow, like a long time ago, like almost a lifetime ago. So 2013, the Ukrainian, this is why the initial invasion happened, right? And anybody who says NATO and all this sort of stuff, you need to get your timeline of events right, okay? So this is how it happened. You can't say that Ukraine wanted to join NATO after the Russians invaded, and that's why the Russians invaded. It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't. You've got to understand the chronological order of things. So, what was it? 2013, there was a vote in Ukraine and the Ukrainians had voted to have more economic ties to the European Union. Why? Well, they were looking west and they were seeing people in Poland doing the same job, the same work, producing the same goods, getting paid an order of magnitude more, maybe 3, maybe 4 times more. And the people in Ukraine, the kids in Ukraine, they thought, well, do you know what? I want a better life for myself. So I want a better life for myself. So they voted to have more economic ties to the European Union. Now, this passed through Parliament, through Ukrainian Parliament. They'd all stamped it. They'd all given the ticks in the boxes. And that just had to be ratified then by the then president, Viktor Yanukovych. Viktor Yanukovych was a wild guy. He was a wild one, Viktor Yanukovych. So when Viktor Yanukovych came to sign the decree that had been approved by the Ukrainian Parliament, they'd all approved it. They'd all signed the things. When that happened, he actually signed another document that gave them closer ties to Russia. There was nothing before that. There was nothing before that. That was the first event, right? That was the first event that happened. That's what started the Maidan revolution, right? That is what started the Maidan revolution. And yes, you can say there was foreign influence. Yes, you can say there was foreign interference. Yes, you can say that whatever. And that may be true, but that's what started it, right? After that, you saw the annexation of Donbass, you saw the annexation of Crimea, and that's when the first Russian troops actually went into Ukraine. There was no talk of Ukraine joining NATO before that, right? So, like, you can't say to someone, you can't use your argument for provocation, something that was done after you invaded, right? Ukraine, yeah, right. So Russia invades Ukraine in 2014. Yep, check. Ukraine asks to join NATO like 2015 or 2016. Check. Right. Yep, the reason we invaded is because you said you was going to join NATO. Whoa, hang on a minute. You invaded us. We were invaded long before that. So that doesn't, like, you know, the dates don't add up for that. Danny Walker is saying Russia had stopped NATO from signing Ukraine, and the only way was to be in a war as a country can't join the alliance while in a war. There was, like I said, you know, there was no talk of NATO joining Ukraine before they invaded. And if that's true, right now they have Finland. Finland is a member of NATO now, and Finland has the biggest land border. I mean, Ukraine's land border with Russia is not that, well, it is quite big. It's like 700 miles or whatever, but it pales in comparison to the size of Finland's border with Russia. So the Finland border with Russia is a lot bigger. Finland are now a member of NATO. Why didn't Russia invade Finland before they became part of NATO? So, like, you know, these arguments don't really, you know, they don't really stack up. He wants Kiev, guys. He wants Kiev. That's the reality. He wants Kiev and he wants to expand his empire. Right, listen, guys, let me, there's loads of comments, guys. Let me jump down. Oh, listen, Mr. Muppet features. I've been going down this rabbit hole, mate, and it's dark, right? It is dark. I'm going to touch on it a little bit. I am going to touch on this a little bit. But I think this is like another live stream, because like you start going down this rabbit hole, and like I said, you know, I have been down this rabbit hole. I've been, you know, and it's really dark. It takes you to a dark place, guys. It does. It takes you to a dark place. Toxic Goyle is saying, send all the people who support the Ukrainians. I won't be lifting a finger. I won't be lifting a finger. And again, even that claim with the N-word, it's a lot deeper, and there's a lot more context to all this stuff, guys. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, right, let's just let's get back onto this live stream, okay? I'll jump onto the comments. I'll jump onto the comments shortly. So I'm going on this morning of the absolute direction of travel that we are in the West right now, and it does look like we are in a dark crisis. We are heading towards a war. Things have been hitting closer to home and moving fast. As of today, the BBC are reporting that Keir Starmer is considering a serious ramp up in military defence spending. We're talking billions more pounds poured into the military ahead of the new budget. Last year, February 2025, to be precise, he committed to the United Kingdom hitting 2.5% of GDP on core defence. Now, I keep saying this, and this is, I'm not just coming up with this like an aha moment. Doesn't matter how much you spend, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Does not matter how much you spend. It does not matter how much you spend, right? What matters is how much you get, all right? So, although increase in defence spending, I can guarantee now there'll be people there just rubbing their fingers together. I know a lot of them. I do. I know a lot of them, and I speak to them. I do know a lot of them, and I'm good friends with a lot of them. And I say, mate, I can't work with you. I like you. You're my friend, but I can't do that. And they rub their fingers together. They rub their fingers together. And what the problem is, we have private soldiers, right? We have private soldiers on the front line. They need kit and equipment, right? They need kit and equipment. And then you have people, like you guys, who are watching these things at home. We need to support our troops. We need to support our troops. Which is true, which is absolutely true. And then we have defense companies who are saying, we need to get as much money as possible. So the defense companies, they're not bothered about supporting the troops. And anybody who can argue with me on that, the first and primary role of any private company, any company, is to make as much money as possible. That's it. That is it. If they can do that by doing nothing, that's what they'll do. Now, providing goods or service at a compatible, competing in a free and fair market with better goods and service is capitalism. Unfortunately, we don't have capitalism in the defense industry, guys. We don't. We have several big prime contractors. They take up all the work and they dictate the prices. And at the top, I would say those people don't really care about those troops on the front line. That's why I don't work for them anymore. Now, Downing Street aides are quietly looking at plans to go over the 3% target by the end of this current parliament, meaning that as early as 2029, 5 years sooner than first floated. However, no final decision has been made yet. The Treasury is being cautious, as you'd expect, with books already tight. But this wasn't thrashed out in some. This hasn't been thrashed out by some half-witted, MP or politician. This was brought out at a high-level meeting earlier this month as part of a long-delayed defence investment plan. So why the rush? Why the rush? Why the rush now? Well, I think this is all to do with the exercise. The other day I was giving you guys the live stream and I said, yeah, they did this exercise the other day and it went really bad, because the British troops got destroyed by drones. I think this, you know what? I know this happens. When I was in the military, before my particular unit, before everyone got issued night vision goggles, we did an exercise, right? And the aim of that exercise was to fail. The aim of the exercise was to fail. Now, we did that exercise to fail. So it was just a catastrophic fail. And then everybody could say, look, they failed because they didn't have night vision goggles, which is true. If you guys have ever tried to operate at night time without night vision goggles, it's fucking horrific. It's horrific. So that was the reason for that exercise to fail. And like I said the other day when I was talking about the exercise, so there was an exercise in Estonia and the British military got destroyed by Ukrainian drones. Now, I do think it was a little bit unfair. I do think the setup of the exercise was unfair, and I think that exercise was put in place to emphasize, to get more money, basically. So why the rush? You know, it's crystal clear from the headlines and from what Starmer himself has been talking about over the weekend at the Munich Security Conference, standing with world leaders, you know, that that Britain needs to meet the wider threat, and it's clear that we're going to spend more faster. And this comes as the latest. And remember, you know, he went up there and he said that Europe needs to be ready to fight. We've got the Chief of Defence, Dickie Knighton, told MPs back in January that we simply can't do everything we need to do as quickly as we need to do with the budget we've got. And that's right, guys. You know, the military need money, and when I think about the military, I always think about the bread and butter, the infantry, because that ultimately, regardless, all your drones, all your fancy bits of kit and equipment, every war is won or lost by private soldiers on the front line with rifles, bayonets, and grenades. That's it, you know. So all your artillery, it'll run out. All your kit and equipment, it will fail. All your drones, they'll stop working at some point. And ultimately, these wars will be won or fought by. I can remember actually when I was in what was it? In the invasion of Iraq in 2000, this is a good example actually. In the invasion of Iraq in 2003, at the time the British military had Lynx helicopters. They were pretty cool. I think at the time they were the fastest helicopter in the world. Now the Lynx helicopter, it can be armed. It can have missile pods put on either side of it. So they look like two big speakers, right? But they're missile pods. And the British, so you can imagine now, right? The US military, right? They've sent thousands of helicopters over there. There's Apaches, there's Black Hawks, there's Little Birds, there's, you know, all sorts of helicopters flying around doing offensive missions. There's airstrikes. There's all sorts of stuff going in, right? The British military sent four Lynx helicopters. That's four. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we had to drive onto this camp where the Lynx helicopters were. I mean, that in itself is a funny story. Because the unit I was with, One Para, we weren't allowed to have any, we weren't allowed to do any cooking at night because you use flames, right? You're not allowed to do any cooking at night. So we'd not eaten anything for a while. And we got into this camp, right? And there's helicopters flying around. There's searchlights on the ground. There's tents everywhere. And there's people driving around with the lights on. And somebody said, Boss, can we cook? And he said, no, you're not allowed to use light. I'm like, all right, okay. Anyway, so we're on this Lynx base, right? And there's all these Lynx helicopters. I think that's what it was called, actually. I think that's what the base was called, Lynx. So we're on this Lynx base. And in the morning, right? In the morning, everything had like calmed down a little bit. And we were talking to the there was like a cookhouse, and we was talking to the guys. Anyway, so out of the four Lynx attack helicopters that the British military had sent to Iraq in 2003, so four, that's all we managed to send. 4. 2 of them had broken down, right? One of them never worked, didn't even work from the get-go. They just took that as like spare parts. And the one that was working, only one of its missile pods was working. So like this whole problem in the United Kingdom about defense spending, kit and equipment, it always fails. It does, guys. It always fails. Now, the reality is biting hard. Russian aggression in Ukraine grinds on. The threat from hybrid warfare, cyber warfare, non-conventional warfare, grey warfare, sabotage is here already in the United Kingdom. We've seen things set on fire, right? We've seen things set on fire. We've seen poisonings. We've seen substations mysteriously, spontaneously combust, storage depots in various places set on fire, and then we find out months later that, oh, they had Starlink dishes in them that were heading for Ukraine. Oh, they had drone parts in them for the military. Oh, they had this component in them that was just going to, so we understand that these things are happening. I mean, why fight drones? Why fight these drones when you can just destroy the parts before they get delivered? And then you don't even have to fight the drones because they never get on the battlefield. This is asymmetric warfare, ladies and gentlemen. Europe is waking up slowly to the fact that we can't keep relying on the United States. We can't keep relying on the same old levels of spending. And again, when I say spending, what I actually mean is we can't keep relying on the same status quo. Right. This hammer, I bought this hammer for £1.99 from my local store. Right, okay. I'm going to now sell this to the MOD for £200. What? Yeah, I'm going to sell it to the MOD for £200. Hang on a minute. Why? Well, it's been MOD tested. What? It's the same hammer. Ah, but I've tested it. Right. Tell me again. What? Tell me again. Tell me. Right. Make that one make sense. Well, this hammer, I bought it from B&M or whatever, and it was £1.99. I'm going to sell that now. This is what happens in MOD, right? So I'm going to sell this. Do you know what? Should I just do project proposals and just put them online? Because I can't be bothered. Right. Do you know what I think I'm going to do? Do you know what I think I'm going to do? Because look, guys, I hit all these things, right? And then what really annoys me, I kind of don't do it anymore. When the government put out a call and a problem for a weapon system or a new piece of technology, I used to apply for these, but I would never get them. And then I would find out in a couple of years' time that somebody proposing more or less exactly the same as I did, charging a phenomenal amount of money more, has taken it. So I might just start doing the next time the government's looking for something, I might just present the solution and just put it online and say, if anybody wants it, message me. Because I really can't be bothered going through the MOD procedure anymore. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's slow. It's antiquated. So you buy a hammer, right? This is how the MOD procurement works, right? So you buy a hammer from B&M that they bought from China for 50p. You buy a hammer from B&M, right? That's £1.99. Call it £2 for Raven Maths, right? And then you sell that to the MOD for like 200 quid or something. And they think that, well, yes, we need to spend more. We need to spend more. And the people are going, oh, yes, keep spending, big man. Keep spending. That's good profit margins. And what they say is but B&M is not on one of your approved contractor lists, is it? And they're like, no, B&M isn't. You're right. So the MOD can only buy from approved contractors, right? And to get onto an approved contractor, you have to have so many staff that are security cleared. You have to go through checks and balances every year. It's ridiculous. You have to have so many. You have to do cyber warfare courses. It's ridiculous. So, like a smaller company, they look at that and they're like, yeah, I'm good. So now you have that scenario where, yeah, if I'm an approved MOD contractor, I can charge whatever I want because I'm an MOD contractor. So I can literally go and buy a hammer from B&M because the MOD can't. And then, I don't know, I'd spray it green or something. It's ridiculous. And all the time our politicians are saying, yes, we're spending more money than the Russians. Yeah, but what are we producing? So Europe is waking up. Europe's waking up. The MOD's been sounding the alarms. Previous promises aren't enough anymore, guys. We can't promise to rearm. We can't promise to rebuild stockpiles. We can't win a war on promises. We need guns, tanks, bombs, trains, planes, automobiles, and we need it quicker. So for us here in Britain, I think this is going to mean some tough choices, guys. It's going to mean some tough choices. It is. It's going to mean, and this is how they're going to sell it to you. This is how they're going to sell it to you. And this is why we are in such dark times here in the United Kingdom, because we can all see, let your eyes tell you the truth. This could mean tough choices ahead. Billions more means tough calls on taxes, borrowing, or cuts. Cuts like schools, NHS, emergency services, police, fire departments, you name it. I don't think they'll be cutting hotel prices, right? Because there's always money for hotels, right? There's always money for people coming over on the boat. So that's not going to get cut. But Keir Starmer signaling that national security comes first in these dangerous times. Now, look, guys, for me, I would be all for this. I would be all for defense spending increases. And I am. You know, I'm ex-military. I've got a lot of friends who are still in the military. I understand that, you know, the military do a fantastic, you know, they do a fantastic job with what they've got. I would be a lot more, you know, I would be a lot more comfortable with this if we could stop the boats, if we didn't have masses and you know, well, you know, when Keir Starmer's saying that national security comes first, I'm like, oh God, Keir, really? Really, national security comes first, and we let him like hundreds of thousands of people of unknown men of unknown origin into our country, and they are absolutely pillaging through it. He's saying Europe needs to stand on their own 2 feet, especially with uncertainty with America. Can you guys remember, like a long time ago when I started doing these videos and I said that the Europeans have to stand, pull our big boy pants on and deal with this threat? I say things and then it happens, right? Like the same when I used to, you know, when I used to apply, when I used to answer these defense calls. I wrote, I might find the letter and just share the letter with you. I sent to the MOD years ago. I told the MOD where drone warfare was going, and that what they're doing right now is wrong, because they were putting, the problem is with the MOD, they will, somebody on the front line, right? They'll see a problem, right? They will see the problem, right? They will say, right, this is a problem. Whatever it is, they will say, we need a solution to this problem. So then that will get a report. That report will get written. That report will get sent to someone else. It'll get rubber stamped. And at the next meeting, that will get proposed. And then maybe a year later, and that's quick, a year later, there will be a call to tender. There'll be a call to tender for some sort of equipment, some solution, an industry solution to this problem. And it might take 3 to 5 years from that problem on the front line to get funded, right? It could take 5 years. Now, the problem there is the battlefield moves too quickly. So I sent a letter, maybe a year, it was definitely last year. I don't know what time last year. Definitely last year. And I told the MOD, it was an open letter. I sent it to the MOD. I sent it to various MPs. And I said, look, you're spending your money on the wrong things. You need to be looking what's coming in the future, because then you'll have a chance of meeting it. Because what they're doing is they're spending their money when the technology gets technology gets developed and it's there and it's mature and it's ready to go. The threats change, so the technology is obsolete already. And a lot of this technology that the MOD develop, by the time it gets funded, it's already obsolete. Literally, it's already obsolete. Right, let me jump on the chat, guys, and then I'll share with you guys the first little bit of that video we was talking about. Right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, everyone. Googleinos. Googleinos are saying council tax to rise by hundreds of pounds. Yeah, council tax for a lot of people is another mortgage. It's absolutely crazy. Stell is saying, Sean, why did you leave, mate? Money. I left because of money, right? All my friends were working in Baghdad as private security contractors. They were all driving like TVRs and stuff. And I was like, right, I'm absolutely like, I'm not winning at life here. You know, I'm not winning at life. I literally left and joined, I went to work in Iraq. So I didn't really leave, right? I didn't really leave. Lisa Jane is saying, GB News, migrants handed 6,000. Yeah, I've seen this. So there was a case where, well, literally what Lisa Jane's saying there, illegal migrants have been awarded. Remember, these are not UK citizens, right? illegal migrants handed £6,500 each for phones seized while crossing the channel. Yeah. So there you go, guys. Look, it turns out if we, everybody's got human rights. Look, and this comes on to the wider thing that one of the wider tropes I've been talking about on this channel. I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, I keep doing these things, right? There will be a time in the United Kingdom where we give acres and acres and acres to illegal migrants, right? They are going to claim adverse possession. They will claim adverse possession on land in the UK, and they will, and some lefty lawyer will say, "Hey, if you say you've been living on this, if you say you've been living on this land for 10 years, I can represent you at court, and we can do adverse possession, and you can get that land for free." That is absolutely going to happen. Toxic Goyhole is saying, what? Can I just, right, Toxic Goyhole, can you, listen, can you give me a little bit context on your name? I don't know, like, what's a Toxic Goyhole? I don't even know what that means. Toxic Goyhole. I'd love an explanation on that, if you may. Bring on the martial law plans that will wake people up and cause the nation to kick off. Rod Panhard is saying, you could save the MOD billions, or you'll be lucky to get a £20 gift voucher for your efforts. Do you know what, Rod? You are absolutely right. I designed a sight system for I designed a sight system for a laser for the GPMG in the MOD when I was in the army. I didn't get nothing. For that. Also, I helped, I think it's Boeing. Was it Boeing? I think it is Boeing, believe it or not. I helped is it Boeing? BAE? No, it's BAE. No, definitely not Boeing. It's BAE Systems. I helped BAE Systems design a platform to go on. Basically, it's a rubber dinghy with a machine gun on it, right? At the time, I was doing a yacht master's course, and we was talking. I said, listen, why don't you put bow thrusters on a rubber dinghy and connect that to a GPS and put a machine gun on it because at the time there was machine guns on the top of who had them? I think it was the Canadians. I'm pretty sure it was the Canadians. They had an electronic mount for a machine gun on the top of their armored vehicle, so they didn't have to have a person go out there. They could operate inside. And what I said to BAE Systems is, why don't you put one of those on a rubber dinghy or a floating thing and put bow thrusters on it, and then you could literally have that. And they've actually released that now. They actually, that's one of their products. I don't know if that was my thing, but I certainly talked about that. And then we went and did trials off the coast of Scotland with that. Linda Lewis saying, so how come it was illegal to seize their phones, yet not illegal to seize Tommy Robinson's phones? I don't know, guys. I don't know. I don't know how these things work. I really don't know how these things work anymore. I really don't know what direction of travel, I don't know how people justify some things. And look, what we can understand is we are in a, look, guys, the title to this is right. Okay. We are in a dark crisis in the United Kingdom. We're heading to war. The footsteps are unstopped. The footsteps are now unmistakable. Google it. Yeah. Googleinos is saying, Swiss train crash latest. Several people injured after an avalanche has caused a train to derail in the Alps. Lisa Jane is saying, according to polls, Rupert Lowe and Restore was at 10% in the polls last night, forcing the vote against Labour and Reform to be split. Forcing the vote. Right. Okay. Googleinos. Right. Okay. So, right. there's a lot of talk at the moment. Thank you for that, Lisa Jane. Somebody asked me to do something earlier. So there's a lot of talk at the moment about Rupert Lowe splitting the vote on the right. Now, I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think Reform are surging in the polls because they are the only. It's like they're the only ones that look like they're something different, right? They do. They look like they're something different, and like it's like on this channel. Look, this channel we have a mix of people with beautiful, diverse opinions. Right, Danny, let me get this up in a second. Danny, once I've put your comment on now, mate. Once I've spoke about this, I'll come on to your comment. Reform are surging in the polls because there is no other alternative. It's either Conservatives, Tories, or you're going to waste your vote. Reform looks like it's the only option. But even the people on this chat, like I've said on this chat, right, that I'm not convinced about Reform, right? And a lot of you guys on the chat are saying, yes, Sean, Reform, I agree, but Reform would be better at least than the Tories. So they're like the least bad. What I think is going to happen is, and I know this sounds wild, what I think would happen, I think they're planning this right now because I think they're definitely worried about this. I think the Tories and Reform will amalgamate. And there'll be a snap election. That's what I think's coming. That is what I think's coming. They need to do this quick. Now, if this happened, now the reason I think this would happen is because if you look, Rishi Sunak's snap election wasn't good, right? It didn't end well for Rishi Sunak. If you consider that people behind the scenes are, ticking the boxes or whatever, then they're not going to want to risk Rupert Lowe getting in, right? So what better way to get rid of him than Tories and Reform come together, right? They make a uni party or whatever. There's a snap election for whatever reason, and the approved candidate on the other side is in. That's what I think could happen. Anyway, right. Danny Walker is saying, what if they are ready, Sean, and they are telling the people on the news so the Russians see and think we're not ready for war? I'm not saying we are. No, I know 100 guys. Look, I still deal with a lot of people in the military. They're not ready. They're really not ready. They don't have sufficient cold weather equipment, right? The British military don't have sufficient cold weather equipment. I know there was a call out for 10,000 sets of cold weather equipment like a couple of years ago. I don't know if that will have been filled. There's so many aspects to this. There's so many aspects, guys. They're just not ready. Clive is saying ball monuments burned down in Iran. Ball. Right, listen, guys. I've been going down this rabbit hole. I've been going down this rabbit hole. I'm gonna come back on later and talk about all this stuff because there's a lot of crazy stuff. And you're absolutely listen. There's some crazy stuff, guys. There's some crazy stuff happening. When we talk about this guy Ball. My only question is why is that going ahead, right? Why is that going ahead? Cherry Lau is saying one might think the rituals were decadent, wasteful, but check out the Tao. Would you look at the Tao? I don't know what that means. No idea what that means. Nigel Wilde is saying, I've seen those faces with the Union Jack flag on top before on DMT. It's like I'm tripping. What? I don't know what that means, mate. I don't know what that means, guys. There's some crazy stuff that's happening. Right, listen, let me share with you this video, all right? Because there's more news about the Epstein files coming out, right? And there's a video that was dropped by Andrew Bridgen, like earlier on. Now, let me just give me a second because I don't want to share it all. Right. 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 I'm going to share this video with you guys. Okay. Now, I've got to be very clear, right? If I share the whole of this video, this video will get taken down, right? So I'm not going to share the whole of this video. I'm going to put it till, hang on, I've got to be careful because I've done this before and I had videos taken down and I get into trouble. So I am, right. So before I share this video, this is a video that was posted by Andrew Bridgen last night or this morning. And it shows a guy and he's walking down a street and he said he just looked at the Epstein files and what he talks about, it's so disturbing. So I'm going to share this video. I'm not going to share the whole video, but please go onto Andrew Bridgen's page and say, you know, and watch it and leave a comment saying that I sent you there. So let me do this. Right, so I don't know if you guys have seen this video or not. I'm literally just going to share the first, I'm not going to share it all, right?
Well, I just made the biggest mistake probably that I've ever made in my life. Last night, couldn't sleep, looked at the files, started with documents, moved on to video.
Right, I'm just going to leave it there, guys, all right? You guys will understand why I can't share the whole video, right? Now, once you start going down this rabbit hole, it's very difficult to try and come to terms with what's the information that's in these Epstein files. One of the things he says in that video is, I can't unsee what I saw. The devil is walking among us. Now, yesterday, I think on last night's live stream, I had a little bit of an epiphany. I kind of linked all the stuff that's happening right now together, all of it. The war, the Epstein files, the alien disclosure, this human offerings. I linked it all together in my head, right? I linked it all together in my head. I'm trying to articulate this. So when you try and articulate something, you know, you want to, you know, if I just give it you now, it's, you know, it will be gibberings, right? It'll be gibberings and very hard to follow, right? But it keeps bringing me back to that movie, Jupiter Rising, right? So there's this movie called Jupiter Rising. He's got Channing Tatum in it, and you're like, it's an all right movie. And Channing Tatum, he's just running around with no shirt on, constantly. He even travels through space with no shirt on. Anyway. So in this movie, Jupiter, what is it? Jupiter Rising or something. The crux of the movie is Earth is a farm, basically. What these intergalactic space aliens do is, and I think they're reptilians as well. What they do basically, they fly around, they populate planets, right? They leave the population to grow and grow and grow and grow. And then they come and harvest them, right? And then they come and harvest them for some sort of essence. Now, there's all this stuff in the news, right, about this adrenochrome and stuff. And if you watch that video that I just shared with you guys then, if you watch that video, I don't want to see these videos. I do not want to see the videos that he's talking about, because I don't know if you guys know or not, but there's been more Epstein files dropped. I think the whole files now, I think the whole Epstein files have been released. And one of the things about these, these data drops is it fascinates me how how much people are blinkered. Absolutely fascinates me how much people are blinkered to what's really going. Well, look, guys, I don't even know what's going on, right? I'm like you guys, like up until a couple of years ago. Well, up until like last year or something, when you guys kept putting it on the chat, Sean, they're all drinking adrenochrome or whatever it is. You know, I was like, what? And then when you start to look at this, it's like, and the one thing about this, you know, the one thing that keeps bugging me is the amount of celebrities, and nobody can say that this is not true. The amount of celebrities, excuse me, the amount of celebrities that talk about eating pizza. And it's so difficult for me to like try and digest. Pizza's so difficult for me to try and to digest, right? This whole pizza thing, like I say, it's very difficult for me to try and digest. Now, I'm looking at this totally objectively. I always look at things objectively, right? The way I do this, I try and visualize the problem, right? Visualize the statement, right? Step away. It's like a visualization thing, right? So whatever the problem is, visualize and this. Try and do this in your personal life as well. If you're in an argument with someone or if you're having beef, just try and visualize the problem, step away from it, and look back in at it, and try and look at that problem with no bias. So I'm looking at the amount of celebrities that are talking about pizza, right? I'm looking at this thing about pizza, and I can't unsee the amount of people who are mentioning pizza, right? But then I've got to think, right, okay, well, what else are they supposed to say? Because, like, pizza, everybody likes pizza. I can't even, like the girls the other day, they said, Daddy, can we have a cheese pizza? I'm like, no, you can't. We're having no more pizza in this house. But like, what are they supposed to say? Like, what are the celebrities supposed to say? Are they supposed to say we're having tomahawks? You want to come and have some tomahawks? It's a bit pretentious, right? So it's just it's all difficult for me to digest. No pun intended. Sean is saying, glad I don't eat pizza with yeah. We all love the space prophecy. I was talking to my friends last night, actually. So I'm on a group chat, and in fact, I'm on a couple of group chats, and they literally look, as I did you guys. They all ask me. They say, Sean, what's coming this year? What's going to happen this year? And I said back in January. And I said it to you guys as well, didn't I? Before there was any of this talk about UFO disclosure, right? I was telling you guys, I'm saying, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm seeing the footsteps. I'm seeing the footprints for a huge alien disclosure. I'm seeing that. And then it turns out a couple of weeks later, we had this news breaking that Trump's planning a disclosure, and then like yesterday or whenever it was, Obama comes out and he says, yes, aliens are real. Nigel Wild, yeah, Pizzagate and hot dogs, yeah, like the girls love pizza and hot dogs, but this is what I mean, right? People do love pizza and hot dogs, right? They're cheap. And it's one of those, it's like, looking at these things objectively, right? Looking at these things objectively, what else are celebrities supposed to say? Because anything else would just sound pretentious, right? Right, why is my banner fell off? Hang on, Lisa Jane had a comment there. I wanted to, there we are. Right, so Lisa Jane is saying GB News reports that the Sun website revealed 91.9% of readers support Sir Jim Ratcliffe's view on immigration. Yeah, we've been colonized, guys. We have I got these videos still up? I don't think I've got them up. So yesterday, I don't know if you guys can remember, but yesterday on the live stream last night, I shared with you guys a video of the people standing for election in Birmingham in May. They were not speaking English in their they weren't speaking English basically. Toxic Goyhole is saying adrenochrome. Oh, right. Okay, hang on. Right. So that word there, harvested, right? That word harvested. Guys, do you all know the movie I'm talking about, Jupiter? I think it's Jupiter Rising. It's got Channing Tatum. It's got Channing Tatum in it. There's this alien race, and they're coming to Earth. And Earth is a crop, basically. Earth's a farm, a livestock, basically. And they come to Earth, and they suck people's souls or something. Now that's the crux of that video. And, you know, I can't not put this together, guys. I can't not put this together. Brian, sorry, I thought it was Brian's. Brian Celtic Brave. Hello, Brian Celtic. Brian Celtic Brave, is this your first comment? Brian Celtic Brave, if this is your first comment, welcome. And if it's not your first comment, I do apologize and welcome anyway. Every story has an element of truth to it. I think he's talking about what the the Jupiter Rising movie. Kev Mills is saying the lad from Home Alone went down the pizza. What? Hang on. There's so many. So it's so weird, guys. It's so weird, this whole pizza thing. Right, listen, guys, there's loads of comments. I'm sorry if I'm missing anyone. I'm literally just going to jump to the bottom. Right, okay. Sean, read Googly's post, please. Right, hang on. Let me jump up. Ukraine receives millions of ammunition rounds through the Czechs scheme. Russia sends it down 345 Ukrainian drones in 24 hours, took 2 villages. Look, I think we all know. Sorry, Jupiter Ascending, guys. Sorry, guys. The movie's called Jupiter Ascending. Not if you're searching for Jupiter Rising, it's called Jupiter Ascending. Sorry, guys. Channing Tatum, great movie. Go and watch it. Google is saying Russia says it downed 345 Ukrainian drones in 24 hours. Now, that will be these drones, right? Because everybody talks about drones, and sometimes we're arguing. These are the only things that have the capability, the long range capability, basically. The other ones, the little quadcopters, they're like 20 kilometers. And they just it's an alternate solution to artillery. I think, look, the Russians are moving forwards, and they are constantly moving forwards, and they're really there's no let up, there's no stop, there's no there's no stopping this, guys, because it's just a constant, relentless push forwards by the Russians. And I get it, I get it. Russia are about to collapse. Russia have ran out of money. Russia can't do this. Russia can't do that. I've been hearing that for 2 years now. Russia's ready to collapse. but every day they're taking more ground. So, you know, it's very difficult when there's so much misinformation. When there's so much misinformation out there, it's very difficult to try and ascertain what's actually going on the ground. But the best thing to look at, right, is like the ground, right? If you just literally look at, hang on. Just literally look at the war map, right? This is the war map. This is the Russians, the red, and they are constantly moving west. Literally every day they are moving west. Not much, small steps forwards, but all along the front line, they're moving forwards. Literally small steps forwards, all along the front line. And that is a relentless push. It's a relentless push forwards, and they're not going backwards. They keep moving forwards. So over time, they are going to take the whole of the country. And this is one of the reasons why, there's good, like what's happened to the peace negotiations? Where are the ceasefire negotiations? Jim is saying, how many of beautiful old English churches have been converted into mosques? Lots. I would say, how many have been burnt down and how many keep getting burnt down? Excuse me. How many churches keep getting burnt down? I think there was one yesterday in I think there was another one yesterday in Scotland. Jupiter Rising sounds like a very different film found on one of those blue websites. Right, let me jump down, guys. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, today is going to be a prepping marathon. Today I'm going to do a prepping marathon of videos, right? I wanted last night, right? Last night we was talking about aliens are real, and I was thinking, like, right, what would I do? Like last night, I was thinking, right, what would I do if it was just a thought experiment. Last night I was thinking, right, okay, what would I do now if the mainstream media came out and said, right, aliens are on their way, they're going to be here, and I do think this is the date, 13th of April, Friday the 13th of April, 2029. That's what I was thinking last night, right? If aliens were coming and that's when they were coming, what would I do, right? So then I started to look into this and I thought, do you know what? This would make like quite a fun prepping video, like prepping 101, alien invasion. You know, there's quite a lot of points you can take from that, right? And the more I started to research this and think about things, like the weirder this rabbit hole went, and it was just going to be a short, maybe half an hour video. But it turns out there's quite a lot of stuff that I think may already be happening. And one of the things I kept coming back to, right, is if, and it's an if, right, if this does happen, right, let's just give you the scenario, right? There's this asteroid, Apophis, right? This is in the news. I'm not making this up. This is not speculation, right? If this asteroid, Apophis, is going to hit Earth, right? Do any of you guys know? Like, literally, do you have a telescope, right, that can check Apophis? Do you have the computer systems to calculate its trajectory? I know I don't. And I would say the people that do are very small. So I kept going down this thing, right? And I kept thinking, right, okay, well, if Apophis, the asteroid that is coming so close to Earth, it's unbelievable, is going to hit, and I was in charge of the world, what would I do? What would I do? I think, right, we need to get off the planet, right? Straight away, we would need to get off the planet and, like, be safe. And I was thinking, how would you do that? Like, literally, how would you? Because you would need to do this at mass, right? On a massive, on a phenomenal scale, right? A huge scale. And I thought, right, if you told people that there was an asteroid coming and everybody needs to work really hard to save a few chosen elites, people will be like, yeah, fuck you, I'm not doing that. That's what we'd be like, right? That 100% humanity, people would not do that. Sean, on your last stage, will you come in and build this spaceship so I can save myself? I'm good, mate. I'm going to go and spend my time, with my family. I'm good. I'm totally good. However, if you told people that there was an alien invasion and everybody needs to go and help and build space or whatever, then you would get a different response, right? You would get a totally different response. Anyway, look, guys, I'm going to be back on later. I'm going to close this video down now. I'm going to be back on later. I'm going to be doing like a prepping marathon today. I'm going to be doing at least 2 prepping 101 videos. And there'll be, and then we'll see where else we go. So I don't know, guys. I don't know what's happening. Listen, go and watch that movie. If you can, go and watch that movie, Jupiter, what's it called? Fucking hell. It's got Jupiter something. Just put movie, Jupiter, Channing Tatum, right? Go and watch that movie. It's a good movie. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now. You guys have been fantastic. If you're on and you've not done so already, please. God, it's getting. Also, I think my leaky roof's fixed itself. Sean, how will you get cows in space? Yeah, Jupiter ascending. Sean, how will you get cows in space? I don't know. We just listen. This is, there's a lot of, a lot of stuff going towards it. I think you'd have to take vegetables, right? You just have to take 2 cows, like Noah's Ark. 2 cows. No, I wouldn't take any Ecuadorian dart frogs though. Those things can stay on the earth. Right, listen, guys. Let me close this down now. I've got a few things to do. I'm going to be straight back on, and I'm going to be doing, I think maybe 2 Prepping 101 videos today. It's going to be a Prepping 101 marathon, guys. It is. It's going to be a Prepping 101 marathon today. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you good evening. I'll see you guys later. Oh, Kev Mills, Sean, have you got an email link, please? No, I don't. No. But if you want something, send it to me on TikTok. Right, I'll see you guys later. I'll bid you good morning, and I'll see you guys later when I do my Prepping 101 alien invasion video.